I'm Aria Hayes, 28 years old. All my life, I only wished for love and recognition from my family. I always hoped that on my wedding day, at the very least, my parents would stand by me, smiling with pride as I walked down the aisle. But what I got instead was cold indifference. They dismissed my wedding as a trivial event and chose to fly off to celebrate with my sister. As I stood there in my wedding dress, searching for their faces, I saw them instead online, laughing, raising their glasses, living it up in luxury, as if my day meant nothing. My heart shattered in that very moment. And yet, the pain didn't stop there. Only days later, they shamelessly called me with another demand, as if everything they had done wasn't enough. That was the moment I realized if I didn't draw the line, I would forever remain invisible in their world. Have you ever longed for your family's love and support only to be met with coldness or rejection? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments. I truly want to hear them. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, in a middle-class neighborhood where appearances mattered more than anything. My parents, David and Eleanor, built their world around looking successful. The house was always spotless, the lawn trimmed, and every holiday card painted the picture of a perfect family. But behind that facade, it was clear who the star was: my sister, Brianna, the golden child. She was everything my parents dreamed of: charming, ambitious, destined for greatness. By the time she was in high school, they were already bragging about her future as a lawyer. Me? I was the quiet one, the kid who loved sketching and dreaming up designs. My passion for art didn't fit their vision of success, so it was brushed aside. I still remember showing my dad a colorful cityscape I had drawn. He glanced at it, muttered, "That's nice, Aria," and quickly turned back to talking about Brianna's debate team. That became the pattern of my childhood. Her victories were celebrated, mine were barely noticed. When I was 10, I won a school art contest and proudly brought home the certificate. My mom only nodded and said, "Good job," before turning to hang Brianna's medals on the living room wall. Meanwhile, they threw a huge party when Brianna graduated, inviting neighbors to celebrate her college acceptance. My straight A's earned nothing more than a pat on the back. As we grew older, the favoritism only grew clearer. Brianna got a new laptop for her tournaments. I got a hand-me-down sketch pad. My parents drove hours to watch her competitions. But when I had my first art show at 14, they were too busy with work. I stood alone in the school gym, my drawings pinned to a corkboard while other kids' parents snapped photos with pride. That night, I overheard my mom telling a neighbor, "Brianna is going places." High school brought more of the same. Brianna was away at college collecting awards in pre-law, and my parents couldn't stop boasting. They'd put her on speaker during dinner to gush about her internships. I tried to share that I'd been accepted into an art program at a local gallery, but my dad cut me off with, "That's great, but did you hear about Brianna's offer from a law firm?" My dreams were invisible. The only person who truly encouraged me was my art teacher, who kept pushing me to pursue design when my parents wouldn't. When Brianna came home for breaks, it was a full celebration. My parents cleared their schedules, cooked her favorite meals, and hung on her every word. Meanwhile, I was asked to clean up. Once I overheard my mom telling Brianna, "You're our ticket to a better life." I sat on the stairs clutching one of my designs, realizing I wasn't their priority. I was barely even seen. By my senior year, I stopped chasing their approval. I poured everything into my portfolio and, with my teacher's help, earned a scholarship to study graphic design. My parents simply said, "That's nice, but be practical." Yet, they had no hesitation taking out a loan for Brianna's law school, calling it an investment in the family. At 18, I finally got my first real break. A gallery in Toledo invited me to exhibit my work. I sent my parents an invitation, hoping they'd show up. They didn't. Instead, they threw another party for Brianna's law school acceptance. I stood in that gallery, surrounded by strangers who admired my art, feeling proud, but also hollow. What I wanted most, my family's pride, wasn't there. That night, I decided I would no longer chase their validation. I'd build my own future. Even if they never cared to see it, leaving home for college felt like a fresh start. I enrolled at a university in Ohio, majoring in graphic design, determined to carve my own path. Early on, I met Liam Carter, a teaching assistant in my intro to art class. He was kind, with a quiet confidence, and he saw potential in my work. We'd spend hours discussing design trends, and he'd push me to refine my projects. Around the same time, I met Zoe, a photography major with a sharp wit and endless energy. She became my closest friend, always ready to critique my sketches or drag me to art events. With Liam and Zoe, I finally felt like I belonged. My first year was tough, but exhilarating. I pulled all-nighters perfecting logos and layouts, driven by a need to prove myself. My professors noticed, and one connected me with a local design studio for an internship. By my junior year, I was juggling classes and freelance gigs, creating branding for small businesses. I'd send my parents updates hoping they'd care. They didn't. My mom called once, not to ask about my work, but to see if I was keeping up socially compared to my sister, Brianna. Apparently, Brianna was thriving. In law school, interning at a prestigious firm. David and Eleanor never missed a chance to remind me how she was setting the family up for success. In my senior year, I landed a big break, a contract to design a campaign for a regional advertising agency. It was my first real taste of professional success. When the campaign launched, it got praise in a local industry blog, and my name was attached. I was over the moon, thinking maybe now my parents would see my worth. I emailed them a link to the article, expecting at least a congratulations. Instead, my dad replied, "That's nice, but have you talked to Brianna? She's working on a big case." My heart sank. I showed Zoe the email, and she just shook her head, saying, "They don't deserve you." Liam was different. He celebrated every milestone, no matter how small. He wasn't just supportive, he got it. We started dating that year, and his belief in me made me bolder. I took on bigger projects like rebranding a chain of local coffee shops. The work was demanding, but it paid off. By graduation, I had a portfolio that landed me a full-time job at a mid-sized agency in Toledo. I was 22, building a career I loved, and I thought my parents might finally take notice. Zoe became my lifeline. We'd meet up at a diner where she'd rant about how unfair my parents were. "You're killing it, Arya," she'd say, "they're too blind to see it." She pushed me to focus on my own goals, and I did. I started to care less about my parents' approval. But deep down, it still hurt. I wanted them to see me just once the way they saw Brianna. By my mid-20s, I was thriving. My agency promoted me to lead designer on a major account, a national retailer needing a full rebrand. It was a six-figure contract, a huge deal for someone my age. I called my parents, hoping this would be the moment they'd finally acknowledge me. My mom picked up, sounding distracted. I told her about the project, my voice shaking with excitement. She paused, then said, "That sounds like a lot of work. Have you checked in with Brianna? She's been so busy." I hung up, stunned. That was the last time I tried to share my success with them. That call pushed me to focus on the life I was building with Liam. After that final call with my mom, I poured my energy into building a life with Liam. One evening, as we strolled along the Maumee River, Liam proposed with a simple ring. I said yes, my heart soaring. We planned a small wedding at a riverside restaurant in Toledo, a place we cherished for its warm ambience. I spent months designing the invitations. For the first time in years, I let myself hope my family would show up. Maybe this milestone would finally matter to them. I sent invitations to my parents, David and Eleanor, and my sister, Brianna. I called to confirm, my voice shaky as I left a voicemail for my mom. "It would mean everything if you could come." My dad texted back, "We'll try to make it." I held on to that faint promise. Brianna, caught up in her own engagement to Ryan, her entrepreneur fiancé, didn't respond to my message. I kept hoping she'd at least acknowledge it. Days before the wedding, my mom called. I braced myself. Instead, she said, "Arya, we're not coming. This is a trivial event for someone at the bottom, and we're busy with Brianna's engagement." Her words cut deep. I asked what she meant, my voice breaking. She explained they were flying to Hawaii to celebrate Brianna's engagement with Ryan. "It's a big moment for us," she added, dismissing my wedding like it was nothing. I hung up, my hands shaking. Liam held me as I cried, promising we'd make the day ours. The wedding day came, and I walked down the aisle in a dress I designed, feeling Liam's steady gaze. Zoe was there, snapping photos and cheering louder than anyone. Liam's parents, Robert and Susan Carter, embraced me like their own, their kindness softening the sting of my family's absence. But as I stood at the altar, I couldn't help glancing at the empty chairs meant for my parents and sister. It hurt, but I focused on Liam's vows, letting the love in the room carry me. The reception was filled with laughter and warmth from friends. And Liam's family. I felt cherished, but a piece of me still longed for my parents' presence. That night, after the final dance, I checked my phone, hoping for a message from them. Instead, I saw a social media notification from my mom. My stomach sank as I clicked. It was a video from Hawaii. David, Eleanor, Brianna, and Ryan on a beach. Laughing, holding tropical drinks under swaying palms. The caption read, "Celebrating our star's engagement in paradise." Brianna beamed next to Ryan while my parents grinned, carefree. Not a word about my wedding. I watched the video again, each frame searing into me. They hadn't just skipped my day. They'd broadcast their choice to the world. Zoe found me staring at my phone, tears streaming down. "They don't get to hurt you like this," she said, wrapping me in a hug. Liam joined us, his face tight as he saw the video. "You're worth more than this," he said. Robert and Susan offered to reach out to my parents, but I shook my head. I didn't want their apologies. I wanted them to care, but they didn't. A week after my wedding, I tried to focus on my new life with Liam. But then my phone rang. It was my dad, David. His voice clipped and businesslike. "Arya, we need to talk about the loan," he said. I froze, confused. He explained that he and Eleanor expected me to contribute to a loan they'd taken out years ago, supposedly for my college tuition, to help cover Brianna's upcoming wedding. "It's only fair," he added, "since Brianna's event is a big deal for the family." I was stunned. The same sister who couldn't bother to text me about my own wedding. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "What loan?" I asked. David claimed it was a $20,000 loan from my college days, one they'd covered for me. His tone implied I owed them. My wedding hadn't mattered, but Brianna's was worth my money. I told him I'd look into it and hung up, my heart pounding. Liam, sitting nearby, saw my face and asked what was wrong. "They can't keep doing this to you," he said. I pulled out my old financial records that night. Every payment for my college loans was there, paid on time, every month, straight from my own account. I'd worked freelance gigs and taken extra shifts to cover those loans without their help. There was no outstanding debt tied to David or Eleanor. I double-checked with my bank, and the representative confirmed my loans were cleared years ago. David's claim was a lie, a ploy to guilt me into funding Brianna's lavish wedding. The next day, I called my dad back. My hands were steady, but my voice was sharp. "I checked the records," I said. "My loans were paid in full, on time, by me. There's no debt." He sputtered, insisting I must have misunderstood. "Brianna's wedding is important," he said. "You should want to help your sister." I could hear Eleanor in the background, murmuring agreement. That's when it hit me, they'd never see me as equal. They'd dismissed my wedding as trivial, and now expected me to bankroll Brianna's, as if my life was just a footnote to hers. I thought of that video from Hawaii, their laughter, their complete disregard for me. I thought of Eleanor's words, calling my wedding a trivial event for someone at the bottom. Anger surged, but I kept my voice cold. "Don't contact me about trivial matters," I said, throwing her own words back at them. There was silence on the other end. David started to argue, but I cut him off. "I'm done," I said, and hung up. My heart raced, but I felt a weight lift. For the first time, I wasn't begging for their approval. I was taking back my power. I told Liam everything, and he pulled me into a hug. "You did the right thing," he said. I called Zoe next, needing her perspective. She was furious on my behalf. "They're unbelievable," she said. "You don't owe them a dime." Robert and Susan, Liam's parents, came over that evening. When I shared what happened, Susan reached for my hand. "You're family to us," she said. "You don't need their validation." Their support grounded me, reminding me I wasn't alone, but the call lingered in my mind. David hadn't just asked for money. He'd tried to rewrite my past, claiming I owed them for a debt I'd already paid. It wasn't just about the money. It was about control, about keeping me in the shadow of Brianna's spotlight. I thought about reaching out to Brianna, hoping she'd at least explain. But her silence during my wedding told me everything. She was complicit, happy to let our parents prioritize her while I was left to clean up their demands. I sat down with Liam that night, looking over our wedding photos. Zoe had captured every moment, my smile, Liam's vows, the joy of our chosen family. I realized I didn't need David, Eleanor, or Brianna to define my worth. I'd built a career, a marriage, a life, all on my own terms. Their attempt to pull me back into their drama only strengthened my resolve to move forward without them. Standing firm against David's demand was a turning point in my life. I was exhausted. I decided to cut off all contact with them. It wasn't a rash decision, but a necessary step to protect my own peace. I started with Dr. Evans, a therapist with a calm presence and sharp insight. I poured out my story. She listened, then said, "You've been carrying their expectations far too long. Setting boundaries is about reclaiming your life." Her words hit home. She suggested a formal email to make my decision clear and final, something I could control without their interruptions. Liam was my rock through it all. We sat at our kitchen table, his hand on mine as I drafted the email. "You don't owe them anything," he said, his voice steady. "Write what you need to say." Zoe came over, bringing her usual fire. "They've had enough chances," she said, "this is about you now." Their support gave me the strength to face the task that I spent hours crafting the email, wanting every word to reflect my resolve. The email was addressed to David, Eleanor, and Brianna. I wrote, "Your actions have shown where I stand in your lives. From the years of favoritism to dismissing my wedding and demanding money for Brianna's, you've made your priorities clear. I'm done carrying the weight of your expectations. Do not contact me again. I kept it short, firm, and unapologetic. Dr. Evans reviewed it, suggesting I add a line to clarify my boundary. Any future attempts to reach me will be ignored. I did, feeling a sense of control I'd never had with them before. Sending that email was terrifying. My finger hovered over the button, my heart racing. Liam sat beside me, saying, "You're doing this for you." I hit send, and a wave of relief washed over me. It was done. I blocked their numbers and social media accounts to seal the boundary. Zoe hugged me tight, saying, "You're free now." Dr. Evans in our next session praised my courage. "You've chosen yourself," she said. "That's powerful." The days after were strange. I kept expecting a call or text, some attempt to pull me back, but none came. Brianna, who'd been silent through my wedding, stayed silent. David and Eleanor didn't respond. Their absence confirmed what I'd always known. They didn't value me. It hurt, but it also freed me. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I leaned on Liam, who reminded me daily that I was enough. Zoe kept me grounded, dragging me to art galleries to keep my creativity alive. Robert and Susan, Liam's parents, stepped up in ways I hadn't expected. They invited us over for dinner, treating me like their own. Susan shared stories of her own family struggles, saying, "Sometimes you have to let go to move forward." Their warmth filled a void I'd carried for years. With their support, I started to see my worth beyond my family's rejection. Dr. Evans helped me process the guilt that crept in, reminding me that boundaries weren't selfish, they were self-preservation. I threw myself into my work, taking on new design projects to channel my energy. Each logo I created, each campaign I led, felt like proof of my strength. Zoe noticed the change, saying, "You're glowing, Arya. They can't dim that." Liam and I began planning our future, a house, maybe kids, without the shadow of my family's drama. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried since childhood, but cutting contact wasn't just about walking away. It was about rebuilding. Dr. Evans helped me see that I'd been shaped by their neglect, but not defined by it. I started journaling, something she suggested, to process my thoughts. Each entry felt like a step toward healing. I wrote about my anger, my sadness, but also my hope. I was building a life with people who saw me, who valued me. That was enough. Letting go of my family was a weight lifted, but it sent ripples through their world. David and Eleanor faced backlash they hadn't anticipated. Our extended family, who'd heard about their absence at my wedding and their demand for money, began pulling away. My cousin, Sarah, was the first to speak up. She'd always been close to me, and when she learned about the Hawaii trip and David's loan claim, she was livid. "They've always put Brianna first," she told me over coffee. "But it's shameful." Sarah stopped inviting them to family gatherings, and others followed. Aunts and uncles, once neutral, started declining their calls. David and Eleanor's reputation in our community took a hit. Neighbors whispered about their selfishness, and their social circle shrank. Brianna, meanwhile, faced her own fallout. Her engagement to Ryan, which my parents had celebrated so loudly, hit a rough patch. Ryan's family, who valued fairness, didn't take kindly to David and Eleanor's blatant favoritism. At a dinner with his parents, they questioned Brianna about why her family skipped my wedding for her celebration in Hawaii. "It's not right," Ryan's mother said, her tone sharp. Brianna tried to defend her parents, but Ryan later admitted to Sarah that it caused tension. He started seeing Brianna's role in the family dynamic differently, questioning her silence during my wedding. Their relationship, once solid, grew strained under the weight of those conversations. I heard these updates through Sarah, who kept me in the loop. "David and Eleanor are starting to feel it," she said one day, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "They thought they could get away with it." I didn't gloat, but I felt a quiet justice. Their actions had consequences, and I wasn't the one enforcing them. Dr. Evans in our sessions helped me process this. "You set a boundary, and the world is responding," she said. "That's not your burden. It's theirs." While their lives unraveled, mine bloomed. Liam and I were building a home together filled with love and laughter. One evening, as we sat on our couch, he took my hand and said, "I think we're ready for the next step." We had been talking about starting a family, and soon after, I found out I was pregnant. The news filled me with joy I hadn't thought possible. I told Zoe first, who squealed and insisted on planning a baby shower. "You're going to be the best mom," she said, hugging me tight. Robert and Susan were overjoyed, already knitting tiny blankets and offering to babysit. My pregnancy brought a new focus. I spent hours designing a nursery, sketching patterns for the walls. Work was thriving, too. I landed a major contract with a local company, my designs earning praise across Toledo. Each success felt like a step further from the shadow of my family's rejection. Liam and I took walks along the Maumee River, dreaming about our child's future. They'll grow up knowing they're loved, he said, his hand on my growing belly. That promise grounded me. Sarah visited often, becoming a sister in a way Brianna never was. David tried to explain himself at a reunion, she said, but no one bought it. I didn't ask for details, I didn't need them. My focus was on the life I was building, not the one I'd left behind. As my due date approached, I felt a peace I'd never known. Liam and I attended parenting classes, laughing at our clumsy attempts to swaddle a doll. Robert and Susan hosted a small gathering for us, their warmth a stark contrast to the family I'd known. I realized I'd found something better, a chosen family who valued me. David, Eleanor, and Brianna were fading into the background, their lives marked by the consequences of their choices. I didn't wish them ill, but I didn't miss them either. That peace I found after letting go of my family became the foundation. For my new life, holding our newborn daughter, I felt a love so deep, it reshaped my understanding of family. Liam and I named her Lily, a name we chose for its simplicity and warmth. As I looked into her tiny eyes, I realized the journey I'd taken wasn't just about escaping pain. It was about discovering who I was and what truly mattered. The lessons I learned through years of rejection, boundaries, and rebuilding are ones I carry every day. And I want to share them with you. Growing up, I thought family was an obligation, a tie you couldn't break, no matter how much it hurt. David and Eleanor's favoritism, their dismissal of my milestones, and their demands taught me otherwise. Family isn't about blood. It's about love and respect. When they chose Brianna's engagement over my wedding, when they demanded money I didn't owe, I saw their true priorities. Cutting them off wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Setting boundaries meant valuing myself, something I'd struggled with for years. Dr. Evans helped me see that self-acceptance isn't selfish, it's survival. My chosen family became my strength. Liam, my husband, stood by me through every tear and triumph. His unwavering support showed me what love looks like. Zoe, my best friend, brought light to my darkest days. Robert and Susan, Liam's parents, welcomed me as their own, proving that family can be built, not just born. Sarah, my cousin, became the sister Brianna never was. These people taught me that family is who shows up, who sees you, who stays. Holding Lily, I knew I'd give her the love I'd craved as a child. Liam and I promised to raise her with kindness, to celebrate her for who she is, not who we want her to be. My career flourished, too, with new design projects pouring in. Each one a testament to my resilience. I didn't need David, Eleanor, or Brianna to validate me anymore. Their absence left a mark, but it didn't define me. I'd built a life filled with purpose and joy, surrounded by people who chose me back. Now, I want to hear from you. We all have stories of family, of hurt, of healing. Maybe you've had to walk away from someone you loved. Or maybe you've found a chosen family who lifted you up. Share your story in the comments. How did you overcome family wounds? What did you learn about yourself? Your experiences could inspire someone else to take that first step toward healing. I read every comment, and I'm here to listen, just as you've listened to me. This journey taught me to let go of what doesn't serve me and to hold tight to what does. Self-acceptance means knowing your worth even when others don't see it. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors to a better life, and family. It's not about who you're born to, but who you choose to build with. Liam, Lily, Zoe, Sarah, Robert, and Susan. They're my family, built on love and respect. That's the legacy I want for my daughter. I'm not the girl who begged for approval anymore. I'm a wife, a mother, an artist, a woman who knows her value.